Engines scream, lights blur, one wrong move, and everything explodes into chaos. Glass flies, hearts pound, silence follows. This is real, this is raw. Hold your breath and buckle up. A car veers into the opposite lane without warning. In seconds, it collides with oncoming vehicles, turning the road into a scene of chaos. On a snowy road, a car loses its grip and begins to slide sideways. Within moments, it slams into a stone barrier, scattering debris across the white landscape. A small car loses control and swerves toward a man standing beside his vehicle. He jumps just in time, landing on the hood as the car screeches to a halt. A speeding boat cuts swiftly across the water, but it hits a tightly stretched cable, and in an instant, the boat flips over, tossing everything into chaos. A car stalls right on the train tracks, its driver frozen in panic. Just in time, another motorist rushes in with a tow rope, pulling the vehicle to safety seconds before disaster. Three motorcyclists wait at a red light, chatting and inspecting a friend's bike. One jokingly twists the throttle, and in an instant, the motorcycle lurches forward, flipping over with its startled rider. A moment of inattention is all it takes. One car slams into another, the quiet street erupting with the sound of metal on metal. A speeding car rushes down the highway, closing in fast. In an instant, it slams into the back of a moving truck with a deafening crash. A reckless driver cuts sharply in front of another car. The startled driver swerves, losing control, and slams violently into the roadside fence. Sparks flicker quietly along the ceiling wires. Moments later, the electrical system bursts into flames, spreading fire across the ceiling panels. A heavy truck drives confidently toward a low bridge, unaware of the danger ahead. In an instant, the top slams into the structure, tearing through metal and causing the bridge to partially collapse. A plane descends low over the highway, struggling to stay aloft. Moments later, it crashes onto the road and erupts into a fiery explosion. The small car slips on the icy road, spinning out of control. In a split second, it crashes into an oncoming vehicle, a brief loss of grip, turning into a serious collision. A driver begins drifting in a supermarket parking lot, tires screeching across the pavement. But control slips away, and the car slams straight into the shopping cart area. An SUV suddenly changes lanes without signaling. The driver behind swerves to avoid it, and ends up crashing straight into a roadside pole. A van tries to cross the railway just as the barriers come down, trapping it on the tracks. With nowhere to go, the driver can only wait until a speeding train slams into the rear of the vehicle. A driver shows off by drifting in a supermarket parking lot. But the thrill ends fast. The car spins out of control and slams into a pole. A truck's wheel flew off and hit the car behind. The impact was so strong, the car flipped over. The car slides helplessly across the icy surface, tires spinning without control. Moments later, it drifts off the road and comes to rest in the snowy ditch. A transport truck carrying several cars loses balance on the road. In moments, it tips over, sending the loaded vehicles tumbling across the asphalt. A car speeds through a puddle, drenching a passing cyclist in muddy water. But karma strikes quickly. Moments later, the driver loses control and skids off the road. Two heavy trucks collide with a thunderous impact. Moments later, one of them bursts into flames, sending thick smoke into the sky. A pedestrian crosses the road away from the crosswalk, unaware of the danger. Drivers slam on their brakes over the icy surface, but instead of stopping, the cars crash into each other in a desperate attempt to avoid him. Two cars approach the intersection from opposite directions. What seems like a routine turn turns into chaos as they collide head-on in a split second. A car crashes into the vehicle ahead, the impact jolting it off course. Moments later, it slams into a roadside pole, coming to a sudden stop.
From Victor Martins, is he going to take the lead from Alex Dunn? Oh!
During the race, a single mistake sets off a chain reaction. Cars spin out, collide, and pile up in a massive crash across the track. At a crowded intersection, two cars enter at the same moment. Neither slows down, and the inevitable collision follows with a sharp, echoing crash. A small car clips the side of an SUV while changing lanes. The impact sends the larger vehicle rolling over in a violent spin. At a snowy intersection, a car turns slowly across the lane. Suddenly, another vehicle rushes in and hits it hard, the crash breaking the stillness of the scene. Two planes approach each other in the open sky, their paths fatally aligned. In a split second, they collide head-on. One spirals out of control and crashes in a fiery descent. On a quiet village road, a driver loses control. The car veers off course and slams straight into a utility pole. Driving along a frozen roadside, the truck's wheel slips onto the snowy edge. As it spins helplessly, the massive vehicle begins to slide until it finally tips off the road into the drift below. The car slips on the slick road and drifts across the center line. In the next instant, it collides head-on with an oncoming vehicle. At the intersection, two cars try to cross at once. In a blink, their paths collide, sending shockwaves through the crossing. The rocket ignites and begins its ascent, hope rising with it. But within seconds, a deafening explosion shatters the launch site, marking a catastrophic failure. A luxury car revs its engine to show off its power. But the sudden acceleration backfires, the tires lose grip, and the car skids straight into a parked vehicle. The car driver tried to overtake a bus but misjudged the distance, crashing into a passing vehicle and causing a shocking, horrific accident. A truck rumbles down the road when suddenly flames burst from its frame. Within seconds, the vehicle is engulfed in fire, forcing the driver to stop and escape. A truck makes a turn with a long metal beam extending from its bed. The beam stretches across the road, and the car behind crashes straight into it, unable to stop in time. At a quiet parking lot, everything seems still, until the unthinkable happens. A wall collapses without warning, crushing the parked cars beneath tons of debris. Roadside poles came crashing down onto the passing cars, but fortunately, no one was injured. An SUV tries to cut off a truck, but the truck refuses to yield. Forced to react, the SUV swerves onto the shoulder, narrowly avoiding a crash. The driver loses control as the car skids across the wet road. In an instant, it slams into a traffic light, bringing the chaos to a halt. The car ahead keeps swerving, blocking every attempt to pass. When it's finally overtaken, the driver tries to cut back in, but loses control and crashes hard into a roadside fence. A drunk driver weaves down the street in chaos. One by one, parked cars fall victim to his reckless path. At a busy intersection, a driver fails to brake in time and crashes into the car ahead. The impact flips the vehicle over, sending it rolling violently across the pavement. A passing car's dashcam captures an ordinary stretch of road. Then, out of nowhere, a fiery red explosion rises like a mushroom cloud, filling the sky with shock and awe. As the race begins, the car swerves unpredictably across the track. Moments later, white smoke pours from its engine before it crashes violently into the barrier. A car slows down to make a turn, its signal blinking calmly. But the driver behind reacts a second too late, and the sound of metal meeting metal shatters the routine silence. A driver records a truck moving slowly down the road. Its twisted frame and shattered panels reveal the aftermath of a serious crash. The driver dozes off for just a moment. That moment is enough. The car slams into a truck's rear wheel and flips over violently. A small car tries to overtake another that's already passing. Losing control for just a moment, it skids and crashes into the vehicle ahead. Two cars approach the intersection from opposite sides. In a split second of misjudgment, they collide, scattering debris across the road. A calm drive turns tragic when the driver loses control of the wheel. The car veers off the road and slams hard into a tree. Losing control on the slippery road, the car slides into the opposite lane. A moment later, it crashes into an oncoming vehicle with brutal force. The camera pans across a quiet horizon. In the distance, a massive fireball erupts, rising into the sky like a fiery mushroom cloud. Two planes collide mid-air, spiraling out of control. Moments later, one crashes to the ground and explodes in a massive fireball. At a snowy intersection, one car speeds through without slowing down. In an instant, it slams into another vehicle, the crash echoing across the frozen streets. Four motorcyclists ride in a line, slowing as they approach traffic. But the last rider can't brake in time. One crash triggers another, and all four tumble to the ground like dominoes. Traffic flows smoothly down the busy street. Suddenly, with a loud bang, the manhole covers shoot into the air, startling everyone nearby. A large Kamaz truck stands by the roadside, smoke slowly rising from its hood. Bystanders pull out their phones, recording in disbelief as flames begin to spread. Two heavy trucks charge toward each other on the open road. In a split second, they collide head-on, a violent crash that leaves twisted metal in its wake. Losing control on the ice, the truck slides off the road and barrels toward the sidewalk. In seconds, it crashes straight into a city storefront, shattering glass and scattering debris everywhere. The driver loses control in a sudden turn. The vehicle veers off course and crashes straight into a pole with a violent jolt. A car crashed into a pole and was badly dented, but the driver calmly got out and started jumping on the damage, trying to fix it himself. A sudden stop on a busy road triggers a chain reaction. 3 cars are damaged in the crash, while the driver who caused it speeds away without looking back. A tanker truck carrying gas drifts onto the shoulder as the driver dozes off. It slams into a fence, and within seconds, the rear tank flips and explodes in a fiery blast witnessed by passing cars. The video shows a deceptively gentle curve that seems harmless at first glance. One car crashes into the guardrail, another suffers a blown tire, and a third meets the same fate, as if the turn itself is cursed. The driver suddenly swerves into the next lane without warning. The car behind crashes into its side, sending the vehicle flipping over with a loud crash. A heavy truck loses control on the icy road, swerving across the center line. In a split second, it crashes head-on into another truck coming from the opposite direction. At a busy intersection, a car rushes through and crashes into a passing van. The impact is so strong that the van flips over, landing on its side. A normal day on the road turns chaotic in an instant as 2 cars collide. One of them bursts into flames, while shocked drivers rush to help from a safe distance. Late at night in a car showroom, everything seems quiet. Then suddenly, one of the parked cars bursts into flames, lighting up the entire room. As the truck rumbles down the road, a large icicle breaks free from its roof. In an instant, it crashes onto a passing car, a chilling reminder of hidden winter dangers.
Meu Deus!
On a rural road, a buffalo charges after a fleeing man. Cornered, it rears up on 2 legs and slams against a nearby car in a burst of raw force. At an intersection, a small patch of dirt and a fallen tree lie in the middle of the road. A speeding car hits them head-on, launching into the air before crashing back down with a thunderous impact. The truck driver fails to notice that his vehicle has rolled under a fence. As he presses the gas, the truck strains against the metal until the rear wheels lift off the ground, trapped by the barrier behind. While trying to park, the driver clips the car behind, then bumps the one in front. After a few tense seconds, the vehicle finally settles awkwardly into the spot. A driver tries to stage an accident, swerving sharply toward a nearby car. When that fails, they reverse straight into another vehicle, unaware the whole act is caught on camera. At a busy intersection, 2 cars move toward the same green light. Neither slows down, and their paths meet in a sharp, sudden crash. Losing control, a Kamaz truck barrels forward uncontrollably. It plows into the cars ahead, triggering a massive and terrifying chain reaction crash. At the intersection, a driver ran a red light and slammed into a turning car at full speed, then fled the scene right after the crash. A small car slams into a parked vehicle at full speed. The force of the impact flips it over, leaving it upside down on the road. Here, a speeding car crashes into a truck at full force, yet, miraculously, everyone survived. The bus swerves uncontrollably as the driver fights to regain control. Moments later, it smashes into the roadside barrier with a shuddering impact. The driver lost control and crashed into a building, which immediately collapsed onto the car, burying it under the rubble. A firefighting helicopter hovers low over the lake to collect water. But in a sudden loss of control, it tilts and plunges straight into the water below. A car suddenly veers off the road and jumps onto the sidewalk. It crashes into a wall, narrowly missing a person lying just a few feet away. The bridge stands firm above the flowing river, a picture of stability. Then, with a sudden rumble, its structure gives way and collapses into the water below. Unbelievable! The paved road gave way right under a moving car, a terrifying moment caught on camera. A driver ignores the red light and rolls onto the train tracks just as the barriers close. Moments later, a speeding train smashes into the abandoned car, tearing it apart on impact. A car moves out to overtake, trying to gain just a few seconds. But the risky maneuver ends in a head-on collision with an oncoming vehicle. At the intersection, two cars enter from opposite sides. Neither yields, and they collide in a sudden, violent crash.
Voglio vedere se passa.
A truck drives under a bridge, misjudging its height. The roof scrapes the underside, sending bits of concrete crumbling down from above. The car loses traction on the icy surface and begins to slide sideways. With no control left, it crashes into the row of parked vehicles. Inside a repair shop, a luxury car is lifted for maintenance. But when the supports fail, the vehicle plunges to the ground, suffering heavy damage in seconds. A race car tears down the track at breakneck speed before losing control. It spins wildly, tumbling across the ground in a blur of dust and metal. The camera captures a shocking sight, a bus engulfed in massive flames. Thick smoke billows upward as the fire consumes the vehicle within moments. Inside the warehouse, rows of electronic goods sit neatly stacked. Then sparks appear, and within moments, flames spread rapidly as terrified workers rush to escape. A car moves to overtake, unaware of another vehicle right behind it. After a brief cutoff, the driver panics, jerks the wheel, and the car spins out, crashing into a roadside fence. A car cuts off a smaller vehicle, trying to push ahead. But karma strikes fast. It skids out of control, flips over, and tumbles off the road. A car makes an illegal turn, forcing the truck behind it to swerve sharply. The truck crashes into waiting cars at the light before flipping over. A single reckless move turning into a full-scale tragedy. Two cars end up in a bizarre accident, one perched on top of the other's hood. When the lower car reverses, the one above crashes down with a loud thud. A car tows another vehicle on a trailer down the highway. Suddenly, the trailer starts swaying wildly, and within seconds, it flips over, dragging both the car and its driver into a violent rollover. The truck driver fails to notice a small car trying to change lanes. In a terrifying instant, the vehicle is trapped and crushed between two massive trucks. A delivery van swerves into the opposite lane without warning. In a split second, it collides head-on with a small car, sending both vehicles spinning. The car loses traction on the icy road as it approaches the intersection. Sliding out of control, it crashes hard into the side of another vehicle, crossing the lane. The rocket lifts off, engines roaring with promise. But barely seconds later, it plunges back to the ground and explodes in a blinding blast, a stunning yet terrifying sight. A small car moves out to overtake, misjudging the distance ahead. In an instant, it collides head-on with an approaching truck. The driver loses control as the car skids across the slick road. It spins into the opposite lane, colliding head-on with an approaching vehicle. A truck loaded with logs moves steadily down the road. Suddenly, another truck slams into its rear, the impact sending wood scattering across the highway.
I changed his mind. Oh no, 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 no! Oh my god, oh my god!
The helicopter begins to wobble mid-air, losing stability. Within seconds, it spirals downward and crashes hard into the ground. The car skids on the icy road, the driver fighting to regain control. But as it spins around, the rear end slams straight into a passing truck, the struggle ending in a violent crash. A motorcyclist speeds too close to the river's edge. At the last moment, his friend jumps off, but the bike and its rider plunge straight into the water. Crazy crashes, epic saves. Don't blink. Like and subscribe for more jaw-dropping moments.